He came running up to me and said I must get to his house quick because some nigger raped his girl. So I got in my van and went over as fast as I could.
And what did you find, Mr. Tate?
I found her lying on the floor in the middle of the front room. She was pretty well beat up. I picked her up, cleaned her face, then asked her who done it. She said it was that nigger, Tom Robinson. So I went to the Robinson home and brought Tom back. I asked her if this was the man who took advantage of her, and she nodded her head. That's all there was to it.
Thank you. Any questions, Atticus?
Yes, actually. Did anyone call a doctor?
No, sir. It was not needed. Mayella was mighty beat up, but she didn't need a doctor.
Describe her injuries.
When I got there, bruises were already appearing on her skin. She had a black eye on its way. She had been beaten all around her head, and there were finger marks all around her bullet.
Which eye had?
The right eye.
Would you say the marks were all around her neck?
I sure would, Mr. Finch.
That is all, Mr. Tate. You may take your seat. Robert E. Lee Ewell. Mr. Robert Ewell?
That's my name, Captain.
Are you the father of Mayella Ewell?
Well, if I'm not, I can't do anything about it now. Her mom was dead.
Are you the father of Mayella Ewell?
Yes, sir.
Will you explain what happened the night of November 21st in your own words?
I was coming home from the woods just before sundown when I hear Mayella screaming. So I run to the window, look to see that black nigger all up on Mayella.
It's best you take Scout and Deal home now. Go home, Scout. Take Deal with you.
Make me.
It's okay. She doesn't even understand what's being said.
I understand everything. Thank you very much. I understand just as much as you do, Jim.
All women and children evacuate the courthouse. However, the request has been denied for the time being. So, Mr. Ewell, keep your testimony appropriate for all ears if at all possible. Mr. Gilmer, you may proceed. Mr. Ewell, did you see the defendant sexually abusing your daughter?
I sure did.
And what did you do when you saw this, sir?
I ran around the house to get inside, but that nigger had got out just before I could get him. I saw who he was, so I ran to help my Mayella. I was too distracted by my daughter to run after him. I figured I would see him. He walked past my property every day.
Thank you, Mr. Ewell.
Just a minute now. I'd like to ask you a few questions, Bob. Mr. Ewell, you were doing an awful lot of running that night, but not once did you think to run for a doctor?
Never thought of it. I had never called a doctor before. Wasn't going to then. Plus, it would cost me $5. That's as much as I make in a couple of weeks. Is that all?
Not quite. Now, you heard Mr. Tate's testimony. Do you agree with his statement about Mayella's injuries?
Sure do.
Mr. Ewell, can you read and write?
That is off topic of the trial, Mr. Finch. Whether Robert can read and write or is not.
With all due respect, sir, please let me continue. Mr. Ewell, I'd like you to sign your name on this slip of paper for me.
There, satisfied?
You're allowed to hand it to Mr. Ewell.
I most certainly am. What does that have to do with anything?
Are you ambidextrous?
Heck no! I'll be darned if I am, but left hand is just as good as my right.
We sure got him now.
Mayella Violet Ewell, please proceed to the front of the room. You may take your seat. Where were you that evening at dusk, miss?
Glad. I was on my front porch.
You need to tell us what happened. Everything that happened.
I wasn't doing nothing.
You need to tell us everything. Calm down, young lady. You calm now and tell us what happened to you.
Well, I was on my front porch when he was passing by. There was an old trooper over that needed to be busted up. It was inside, but I was feeling quite weak that day, so I asked Tom to come inside and do it for me.
Then what happened?
Well, he came inside and followed me so I could give him compensation. The next thing I knew, he was on top of me. He had his hands around my neck and was swearing with all sorts of nasty words. And then that nigger took advantage of me.
Did you scream?
You bet I did. I screamed like my life depended on it.
Then what?
Must have blacked out because the next thing I remember is my pop standing over me.
going to ask you a few questions, and you will just have to bear with me. Okay, miss? Miss?
No, I'm gonna do nothing. I will not answer another word as long as you keep on mocking me.
Miss?
There you go again. You're mocking me.
He's not making fun of you. What is your problem?
He's calling me miss and ma'am and this man. I ain't gonna take none of his sass. I don't take sass from nobody.
Mr. Finch is simply being respectful. Now let's continue. That is an order.
Mayola, do you love your father?
Love him. What in the Sam hell does that mean?
Is he good to you?
He's tolerable. It's
Except when he's drinking, right? Does he go after you? Does he touch you?
My pa's never touched a hair on my head.
Mayola, did you know Tom Robinson well?
He walked past every day.
Had you ever invited him inside before that night?
May have. I don't remember.
Do you remember Tom beating you in the face? It's a simple question, Miss Ewell. Do you or do you not recall Tom beating you in the face?
No, I mean, yes. Yes, I do.
Please point to the man who abused you. Tom, please stand. Thank you. You may sit. Now, Mayola, you were saying that that man beat you, choked you, and raped you?
Yes, I am.
And when he was beating you, you didn't try to run away?
I did, but he was on top of me.
And you said you were screaming. Were you screaming this whole time? Or did you only start screaming once you saw your father's face in the window? Who beat you? Tom or your father? Robert Ewell's the man who beat you, isn't he?
I got something to say, and I'm only going to say it once. That piece of trash took advantage of me, and if you so-called men don't want to do nothing about it, then y'all are a bunch of cowards. A bunch of stinking cowards.
How many witnesses you got?
One.
Bring him up.
Tom Robinson, were you well acquainted with Mayola Ewell?
Yes, sir. Passed by our house every day. My way asked. I always topped my head at her as I went by. And one day she asked me to bust up a chippewa. But Mr. Finch, that's all I was doing last spring. That was almost a year ago.
Do you often take on tasks for her?
Sure do. Seems like every time I passed, you would have something for me to do.
So, Tom, what happened the night of November 21st?
Mr. Finch, I was on my way home, passing you home, minding my own business as usual, and Mayella called me over to her porch. She begged me to come inside and help her fix a busted door hinge. It was very quiet, so I asked her where the children were. She said she gave them money to get ice cream. I said that was very nice of her, but I'd best be going, because I couldn't help her. But she said I could. She told me to get a box way up high, so I got in a chair. Next thing I knew, her arms were around me. I hopped down so fast, she hopped on me like a rabbit. She was hugging me. And then she kissed me. She told me to kiss her back, but I told her to let me go. She wouldn't let go, so I pushed her. But Mr. Finch, it wasn't that hard. That's when I heard Mr. Ewell holler. He yelled at me, "You gosh darn hooligan!"
Then what?
I ran for my life. I didn't even know what happened, but I do know I did not rape or abuse Mayella in any way.
Were you scared?
Sure was.
Why is that?
If you was a nigga like me, you'd be scared too.
I just want y'all to know that boy's worked for me for 8 years, and not once has he caused any trouble.
You get out of this courthouse right now. You may not speak unless you're under oath. Mr. Gilmer, you may start.
Mr. Robinson, you're awfully good with your hands, aren't you?
I guess you could say that, sir.
Strong enough to choke a woman?
I have never. Would never do that.
You're mighty kind to help her so often without any pay.
I felt sorry for her. Seemed like she didn't have anyone else to help her.
You felt sorry for her? You felt sorry for her. So you said you ran off. anything wrong?
I was
Empty
scared.
conscience?
I was scared of being in the exact position I was right now.
You're scared of admitting to what you did.
No, I'm scared of admitting what I didn't do.
Oh, come on, Dill. You stop that. Come on, Dill. Let's get out of here. It's okay, Dill. It ain't fair. He's just a Negro. Still isn't right.
I know what you mean, boy. Makes you sick, don't it? Come here. I got something that'll make you feel better. Feels good, don't it?
Don't drink too much of that, Dill. It's whiskey.
No, it ain't. It's just Coca-Cola.
Don't you go tell no one.
All you drink is Coca-Cola?
Sure do.
Then why do you pretend to be drunk all the time?
Because folks are judgmental and don't understand why a white man like me would hang around niggers. If they think I'm just a drunk, it helps them understand my ways. Someday, you will learn not to cry, son.
Cry about what?
Cry about the simple hell some people give other people. You better go inside now. You're missing that trial.
Well, it's nice to meet you, Mr. Raymond.
Thanks for the drink, sir.
No problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, I strongly believe that this case should never have come to trial, for it's as simple as black and white. There's no real evidence to prove Tom guilty of this crime, other than the testimonies of the two Yules, which even contradict each other. Tom Robinson is not guilty, but someone in this room is. I feel sorry for Mayla, but at the same time I don't. She's letting her guilt drive her to put a man's life on the line. She's not innocent. She tempted a Negro, she is guilty. Now, she must rid of the evidence, which is Tom Robinson. Yes, some Negroes lie, but so do white men. Thomas Jefferson said that all men are created equal, so pay no attention to skin color when judging this trial. And in the name of God, do your duty.
The jury will now discuss their verdicts. This will take some time. I suggest that everyone gets settled. This court will now come to order. Now for the verdicts of the jury.
Guilty.
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 Go.
Guilty.
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 I do declare he's guilty.
I always stopped my head at her. I went by. I can't.
I'd like you to sign your name on this slip of paper for me.
Jake,
Wait, what?
Tanya.
After Bob says
Shut
up. Hatch took a video.
No,
You can't tell me
2 seconds.
Hey!
Kid,
Bob.
guys.
Shut
up.
your mouth. Thanks.
Oh, no. What?
Jake, do I need to get the inside of these?
No, no.
I need to get you a paper.